Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to 28 Days of Science Fiction. This is day 17. Yes, day 17 and shelf 17. And we continue with Clifford Simak, and this is the novels of Clifford Simak. Uh, the novels that I have in hardcover mostly. There's a couple paperbacks here because they're paperback originals. One, actually. Uh, and it includes the first editions, the American first editions, British first editions occasionally, and book club editions, as and when I've picked them up over the years. So we'll start out, and these are sort of, it's in chronological order of when the stories were written or published. Now, the first one is the British edition of Cosmic Engineers by Severn House. We saw a lot of collections of 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 Clifford Simak in Severn House by Francis Lyle, and some other, and we'll see more novels as well. This was published by Severn House in 1985, and it's from the 1950 Gnome Press novelette or short novel Cosmic Engineers, but it was originally published in Astounding Science Fiction in 1939 as a serial, and then rewritten and changed for 1950. This is Cosmic Engineers. It's a sprawling space opera spanning the universe, basically, and it's a fun read. It's not one of his best, but it's early in his career. He started writing in 1930, so this is sort of 9 years along, but it was made better by John W. Campbell. And it was liked at the time, but then I think when 1950, the Gnome Press edition that was put out, a lot of critics says it should have just stayed buried in the archives and in the vault of Astounding. The next one is City, which we're reading right now, or I'm reading, and a bunch of others are reading for the month of March. It's a fix-up novel. The original stories were published 1944, and then 46 and 51, and 1973 for the very last one. And that's called City. This is, I don't have a first edition of it. I'd love to have a first edition of it. This is by Old Earth Books. It's a centenary edition, published in 2004, centenary of the man himself's date of birth, which was August 3rd, 1904. I think it's August 3rd. And it has an introduction. Well, no, sorry. It has his author's foreword that was published in 1976, and a lot of recent editions don't have his foreword, but it also includes epilogue, the final story that was written in 1973 for the John W. Campbell Memorial volume, edited by Harry Harrison. I used to have it. I still need to get that one. But yeah, we're reading it this month as part of my Simak sort of year. The next one I have, which is Time is the Simplest Thing. This was published in 1961 by Doubleday and Company. Sort of an abstract cover artwork for that, but this is the first edition of the book. I'm not sure if it tells me who the artwork is. Oh, yeah, it says, well, it's a jacket designed by Mel Hunter. So I'm assuming that's the artist as well, not just the design of it. Or a designer saying, well, this is what I want, so I've designed the cover, you go and draw it. I'm not sure, but this is a good story. It's well, I won't. Well, I can read the synopsis. It would probably be better than me going through it. Time finally came when man had to admit that he could not reach the stars. He had suspected it when the early radiation belts were found, and gradually it became a certainty. The man, with his unusual ingenuity, found the solution in men who were telepaths. with the help of the top secret organization called Fishhook, men could throw their minds into the depths of space. And that was the American first edition. And then this is the Time is the Simplest Thing, Golan's, their yellow jacket, which aren't very nice looking, but they are collectible. This was done 1963. This is the third printing, January 1963 by Golan's. So yeah, they're very plain, paper covered boards, and yellow, very yellow. As I say, I don't have all in hardcover. I'm still missing a number of novels, but this is what I have. And here is Trouble with Tycho, which was originally published in Amazing Stories. Memories unsure here. I think 1960. This is published 1961. It's the first. Well, no, it's actually not the first. This is the first single edition of it, but it was done as an ace double originally, and it's set on the moon, and there's Trouble with Tycho, and there's sort of things in Tycho, as you can see, they're floating around. I won't spoil the story. It's a treasure hunt in a haunted crater, it says. It's a novelette. It's short. It's large. It's just over 100 pages. Now we got They Walked Like Men. We'll do the earlier version first, or the early edition. Again, one of the Golan's yellow jackets. 1963. Originally published 1962. And well, it says the first Simek novel to appear on our list, so yeah, received an enthusiastic welcome from the press. But yeah, and this is a later edition of it from the 70s. It's kind of rough. We've already seen this press. It's got some water damage, or damp staining on it, water damage. White Lion Publishers, 1962. 1975. Let's see. I'll just read a little bit here. Parker Graves, a newspaperman, comes home one night to discover that a trap has been laid outside his apartment door. To his horror, the trap is transformed into a bowling ball and runs away. That's all I'm going to say. And this is the next one we're going to be reading in May, and that's Waystation. That, again, I don't have the unoriginal edition. City is expensive, but Waystation is very expensive for a first edition. And it doesn't even have a nice dust jacket, or at least I don't think so. This was published in 2004 again. This is the Centennial edition by Old Earth Books in 2004. And it's about a... it's about a Civil War veteran who was approached by aliens to sort of create a way station, a transfer point for aliens, travel through the galaxy. And as long as he stays in his house, he doesn't age. So that's all I'm going to say. But we'll get to that in May. And then in July, part of Michael K. Vaughan's Rocket Summer, I'll be reading All Flesh is Grass. This again is the Golan's edition from 1966. Golan's originally published in 1965 for the American edition. And it's basically a town that gets sort of isolated and cut off by aliens. And that's, again, all I'm going to say. I think it's Millville, a place where he grew up, sort of. He went to school. That's where he sort of, yeah, citizens of Millville. Yeah, so he uses that area where he grew up in southwestern Wisconsin. He uses it a lot. And then here's the science fiction book club. Again, well, not much better than the Yellowback, but it's still a bit better. At least there's something to it. And this was the Science Fiction Book Club by arrangement of Victor Gollancz, and this was 1967 edition. So yeah, I've got multiple editions, but hey, I don't care. Now we've got the book that we'll be reading in November as part of the Bookish Bryant's New Worlds November. And that's The Werewolf Principle. Again, a science fiction book club edition by Victor Gollancz, 1969. But it was originally published in 1967. And it's about a guy who comes back from space travel, and he's got a few other guests that are within him. Again, that's all I'm going to say. So it'll fit in with the New Worlds November, which I believe is still going to say, like, you know, short stories and novels, 250 pages or less. So that fits in. And hopefully some of the prompts, but we haven't worked that out yet. Then I've got here another science fiction book club, Why Call Them Back from Heaven. Again, I don't know, just the designs on these British editions are not great. This is, again, science fiction book club by arrangement by Victor Gollancz, 1968, originally 1967. It's a very short novel. Yeah, it's just over 150 pages. Yeah, it's a good story. I really enjoy it, and I'm gonna probably add a few other books to the list, like in between every 2 months, and this might be one of them because I feel like I need to read this one again. And here's a British edition of Out of Their Minds. Again, not the greatest book design. It's a little rough. There's chipping at the top of the spine, and probably a little bit of fading because of the orangeness of the spine. The Sedgwick and Jackson, originally published 1970, and this is 1972. This is the first UK printing, I believe, is the Sedgwick and Jackson. Then we've got Cemetery World, the first edition of it, and this was published. It's a review copy, which is kind of cool. Looks like somebody paid £75 for it, or is it or £7.50? I'm not sure which. G.P. Putnam and Sons, Well, it was originally serialized, so 1973 is the book edition, and it's set on an Earth that is basically a cemetery, and there's a guy coming to, it's just sort of like a journey story as well, and discovering things. It's a fun read. It's a fun read. But I do like the cover on this, the American cover. If I can show it here better. Let me see. Does it say who? Cover painting. Oh, Vincent DeFate. It's Vincent DeFate. Very popular artist. Now we've got Our Children's Children. It's a time travel novel where humans from the far future escape to the past, escaping some very, very hungry aliens. And yeah, that's all I'll say. G.P. Putnam and Sons, 1974. It's first appeared in If a Science Fiction. But yeah, it's a good one. I enjoyed this one. A lot of his books are short. Let me see here. And then I've got the British edition, which I actually like the cover of this one too. Oh, who was the? Let's see if I got the artist for that one. I like that cover as well. That's Richard Powers. Ooh, so yeah, so I like that cover. But this is the Sedgwick and Jackson British edition. I like that cover. I like it as well. And that's published in 1975, so a year later. Do we get the... It's a jacket designed by David Hardy. So I'm assuming he's the artist again. Now we've got the... this one I really liked. This could be another one I could put on the reading. If anybody wants to read any of these that I'm showing here, I'm happy to reread any of these in between. Like I'm doing the Simax novels every other month, so I can easily pop in another one in the intervening months. And if there's any of these that somebody wants to read themselves or would like me to read and comment on it, then feel free to put it in the comments. So this is Shakespeare's Planet, and that was published in 1976. And yeah, it's about a spaceship guy getting stranded on a planet, and Shakespeare's Planet. Well, that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, this is it's a short story again, under 200 pages, and I've got the British edition again, Sedgwick and Jackson. Maybe not as nice a cover. Let me see who's the cover artist of that one. That one's kind of neat. I always liked that. I always remembered that. I don't think it says who the cover artist is. Doesn't say the cover artist as far as I can see. So yeah, it doesn't say the cover artist. But the British edition, again, Sedgwick and Jackson, sort of, well, a skull on a planet. And this was published in 1977, again, a year later. And it says jacket designed by David Hardy, who did the Our Children's Children as well. And then we've got this one. I'd love to get a better quality edition of this, Heritage of Stars. This one I really, really liked. Just thousands of years in the future, when the nearly indestructible skulls of destroyed robots litter the forest floors of an American continent which barely remembers the greatness of the old technological civilization, Tom Cushing sets out on a quest. So it's one of his quest stories, journey stories, which I really, really like. And that was published in 1977. The original title was A Place for Going to the Stars or something like that. At least that's what the working title was. Jacket design, jacket illustration by Paul Leher, and then it says type design by Michael Stromberg. As I say, it's a bit, it's missing a chip there, and there's some fading, and there's some damp or water damage there, and some tears. So yeah, I would like to get a better edition of this. And then this is one of his fantasy, like straight up fantasy books. I didn't realize there's remnant of a sticker underneath there. This came with a dust jacket protector on, but I'm going to have to take it off and clean the jacket. It's a Fellowship of the Talisman, and it was published Del Rey Books, 1978, first edition, and it's basically this is through wilderness blighted by horror rode Duncan, son of the noble house of Standish. Astride his mighty warhorse, he was pursuing a quest vital to the future of civilization. With him went a strange fellowship, a brawny man in arms, a banshee, a hermit, a ghost, a turncoat demon, a goblin, and a witch. Opposing them came forces of supernatural malignancy. Aiding them was a girl with the blood of enchanters in her veins, who was mounted on an ancient griffin. The griffin. It's one of his early fantasy, or well, he did a number of fantasy stories, and it's very much in the Tolkien way. I believe. Michael Whelan was the cover artist on this. Trying to get it with the least glare. And then we've got the British edition. I've got a better edition, a better conditioned copy of this somewhere. I'm sure I do. But it's just a plain, just again, an ugly silver edition. But this was, or actually, I was given a couple of them, and one's in actually pretty good shape. This was published in 1980 in the UK here by Sedgwick and Jackson. And we've got the similar design for Catface, which is Project Mastodon. I don't have the original edition, which I do want to get. It's not that difficult to get. It was originally published in 1978. Yeah, so this was done, or just Mastodonia. Sorry, I keep saying Project Mastodon was a short story that it was based on, and he made it into a novel, Mastodonia. But the British edition was called Catface. And it looks like it was published both at the same time in 1978 in the UK and the US. And it's basically a time travel story with mastodons in it. And then we've got, this one is a bit rough too, The Visitors. Not the greatest of covers. The paperback, well, the British version actually is much nicer, but anyway, we'll get to that in a second. This is the American first edition, published by Del Rey Ballantine Books, published in 1980. And it was serialized, I believe. Yes, it was serialized in analog, yeah. And it's aliens come to Earth, sort of strangely, in a strange way. So yeah. Here's the British edition, which I like the cover. On this occasion, much better. It hung in the sky just in the way bricks don't. And some of you may know where that quote is from. Not from this, but it fits. So this was 1981 in the UK, and it's starts out in Minnesota, where Simak was living at the time. And another fantasy one, Where the Evil Dwells. That's got to be a Michael Whelan cover. Again, I'll check in a second. Where the Evil Dwells. Since ancient days, the empty lands had stood between the Eastern barbarians and the 2,000-year-old civilization of Rome and the Church. For the empty lands were not really empty. They were filled with every evil from the darkest of mankind's myths, and one power more horrible than could be found in any myth. Now 4 punny humans set out to invade the heartland of the evil. So it's another quest story. Del Rey, books 1982. This is out of order, I think. Yeah, Michael Whelan did the cover. Because then we got Project Pope, which we'll be reading in September. And this is Del Rey book again. 1981. So yeah, so this came before Where the Evil Dwells. This is a first edition. And basically it's robots have taken up religion, where humans have left religion behind, and the robots have taken up religion. So that's what that's about. So let me just move the order here. But here's the British edition, which I really like. I really like the British edition cover. Oh, is that a Michael Wheeland one too? That might be a Michael Wheeland. No, painting by Rowena Morrill was that one. And this one is Cedric Jackson, the British edition, 1981 as well. So yeah, so occasionally they published them in the same year. Ian McCaig was the illustrator for the cover there of this one, which I really, really like, as I say. Then this one I really like. That's a Michael Whelan cover for sure. Special Deliverance. I'd like to reread this one. I really enjoyed this one. It's another sort of journey quest one. I love the robot pouring tea. Yeah, it's a Michael Whelan cover art. We got 1982 for this one, first edition. And I do have the, I'm not sure actually if it's the first British edition. It could be, yeah, the Severn House. Very different. Yeah, that's a quest one of everybody going off to another planet on a quest again. And there's a professor there and the robot, obviously. Severn House, 1983, so again, a year later. So I think this is the first British edition. Jacket illustration by Mark Burgeon. It's okay, but it doesn't have the impact of the American one, that's for sure. And then the last book, and his last published novel, called Highway of Eternity. That could be another Michael Whelan cover. I'll have to check. That's his last one. I remember liking this, but I have to read. I've only read this one once, and it's probably near the time it came out. It's at Ballantine Books as well, 1986. So I probably read it about that time. No, the cover painting is David Scheinekoffer. Yeah, I'd have to reread this one. I did have a few problems with it, but I did like the trees in it, if I remember correctly. So that ends the fiction for Clifford Simak in hardcover. Now, I still have some nonfiction that he wrote that we'll start with the next shelf, and then we'll go into just other fiction books, and then thereon. So that's the last sort of big collection of things of one author. Thank you, BookTube.